This is the CW11 News at 10.
Also tonight, a drugstore robbery with a very young bandit busted. But first, the big story. Now, where the rain came down, it fell in buckets. Now, lots of people are pumping out basements and even living rooms tonight. Long Island, the hardest hit. Marvin Scott is live in Great Neck, where folks are drying out their things and adding up the damages. Marvin. Authorities in Los Angeles now say the Boston man who kidnapped his daughter and went by the name Clark Rockefeller is really a German man wanted for questioning in the 1985 disappearance of a San Marino couple. The CW11 will remain your place to see the Mets in action on free broadcast TV. Our parent company has renewed the contract to carry 25 Mets games each season through 2011. The family of a teenager accused of shooting a cab driver in the face during a botched robbery is urging the friends of the 19-year-old suspect to turn themselves in. They're hoping it will help cops to find out who actually pulled the trigger. Arthur Chien is live now in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn with details. Arthur? Some people call it use of excessive force. Now the case of a man shot 5 times by cops during a routine traffic stop in New Jersey will go to a grand jury. Morris County prosecutors say the events leading up to the deadly shooting are cloudy, even though the whole thing was captured on video.
She says that's discrimination.
But agency bosses say the decision to take her off an armed beat at the bridges and tunnels is in her best interest and her baby's. Here's Glenn Thompson. Get this, an 11-year-old is under arrest accused of robbing a drugstore. Cops say he did it with fake guns and he got away on a bike. As Danielle Bellini tells us from Orlando, Florida, people in the area are finding it all so very hard to believe.
This is the CW11 News at 10.
Also tonight, a rare show of emotion by Hillary Clinton. We'll tell you what had her nearly in tears on the campaign trail. But first, the big story.
Well, 2 elderly.
A man missing for more than a year may have been found. Police discovered a body in a backyard cesspool. Investigators dug up the remains behind a house in Mastic Beach, Long Island.
Vanessa, back to you.
All right, Chris, thank you. Roger Clemens is striking back in the steroid scandal. The former Yankees pitcher held a news conference tonight, playing the tape of a conversation he had with his principal accuser. Sal Marciano is here with more on what Clemens had to say. Sal? Now, let's talk about our weather and this wonderful winter warm-up. The temperatures went up today and the layers came off. A Jewish cemetery tonight resting in pieces after vandals knocked over hundreds of gravestones. Cops are taking this very seriously and trying to find the creeps who did this. Marvin Scott is live in New Brunswick, where heartbroken loved ones are finding this horrible act hard to believe, Marvin. Funeral homes, right?
It's just kind of lovely and temperate today. Isn't it nice?
It is beautiful. Let's go. Let's get right over to Mr. G.
Guys.
Love the warm temperature, though. Thanks, G. A lot more ahead on the news at 10. A plan to install red light cameras come to a grinding halt in one state. A move to install red light cameras at intersections on New Jersey roads has stalled in the Senate. The plan is part of a crackdown on drivers who disobey traffic signals. Violators would get tickets through the mail featuring digital images of their car running a red light. Well, they just announced a fare hike. Now it turns out performance has actually improved on a local commuter rail line. Here are some of the stories making news around the world tonight. All right, thanks, G. If things had turned out differently, the families of 6 snowmobilers stranded on a mountaintop could have been planning funerals. However, what you might not notice is that coffee chain giant Starbucks is feeling a lot of pressure on Wall Street and on Main Street. Deborah Costrin has that and more in a quick look at Money Matters. And I'm Vanessa Tyler. Thanks for joining us. The morning news starts at 5 a.m. Family Guy is next. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Also tonight, that shocking video of a Burger King employee taking a bath in the sink. But first, the big story.
And it's a developing story.
Allison, thank you. Is public surveillance by the NYPD going too far? A new security plan unveiled today aimed at preventing a potential terrorist attack has some people talking. It's calling for high-tech tracking like photographing all cars entering Manhattan, even scanning their license plates. Those who are against it say law-abiding New Yorkers along with criminals are being grouped into a system that goes too far. Arthur Chien is in Lower Manhattan and has more on the plan. Well, it's cool outside tonight, and we can probably thank the rain earlier this evening for that. Mr. G is ready with your weather right now. Tragedy turned her life upside down. Now a teenager paralyzed from the chest down during a crash on a school field trip is suing New York City, among others, for $300 million. As Ellen Marks reports, the girl's family claims the car she was riding in was too dangerous to be on the road. Private security officers who guard exclusive buildings across the city rallied today for better pay and better benefits. All right, G, thank you. There's a lot more ahead here on the News at 10. Why Freddie Mac says it's just too risky to do business in New York. Tonight, Russia's president says his country will abide by the terms of a ceasefire after its invasion deep into the Republic of Georgia. But it's unclear tonight if Russia will really stop the fighting. Grant Rampey is live now in Washington with more on the uncertainty about what happens next. Grant? Also tonight, $16 million in cocaine seized in a high-tech bust. But first, the big story.
It is the weather.
It's wild, wet weather all over our area. Another round of heavy rain hit some counties hard. A guilty verdict today in the case of the woman on trial for strangling her husband. She claimed it was self-defense, but it came out she was having a steamy love affair. Long Island reporter Rob Hoyle was in Mineola, where it took the jury just a few hours to reach a verdict. Thanks, G. We're just getting started here in the News at 10. One airline becoming iPod friendly. The man who took a cross-country trip in a cab with his wife is now facing foreclosure. Bob and Betty Matas of Queens packed up their 2 cats and took a cabbie to their new retirement home in Sedona, Arizona. But Mrs. Matas has since died from heart and kidney problems. Now Mr. Matas can't afford to keep the home. He's trading it in for a mobile home and moving into a trailer park.
All right.
New Jersey's 2 U.S. senators came out swinging against soaring gas prices today, pushing for legislation that'll give drivers a break. Senators Robert Menendez and Frank Lautenberg, a local neighborhood asking the city to reinstate alternate side of the street parking.
Also, this dog, you'll recall, was left $12 million.
Speaking of dogs, Leona Helmsley's pampered dog won't be getting that $12 million she left him in her will. Some of our own were honored tonight at the New York Press Club Awards dinner. Here's one you don't hear every day. Folks complaining because they don't have the alternate side of the street parking. Last month, the city suspended the rule in Park Slope. To Money Matters now, and back to that climbing price of oil. And I'm Vanessa Tyler. Thanks for joining us. The morning news starts at 5 a.m. 2.5 Men is next. Good night, everyone.